You're listening to Rouge Radio, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
It's time to get the point as Rouge Radio is ready to kick off.
Ready!
The best football talk with the best in the business.
So what is the cost? You have 2 first-round picks this year because the Argos are dumb enough to trade for Drew Willie.
A few rookies.
We go directly to the on-field product. We welcome to the show the 20th overall pick in this past Sunday's CFL draft, DeAndre Wright of the Alouettes. DeAndre, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
And the occasional Hall of Famer.
Please welcome Doug Brown, who is one of the members of the current class of 2016 in the CFL Hall of Fame. Doug, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you guys for the kind words and for having me on the program.
Rouge Radio is on the air. Here's your hosts, Robert Dalton and Tony Allen.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rouge Radio podcast, powered by the Canadian Football Podcast Network. My name is Robert Dalton, live from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And joining me, as always, my brother from a different mother from Medicine Hat, Alberta, who's at least there for another couple days. But I guess that's behind the scenes. Nobody cares if you're traveling. But for now, you are in at home. So, Tony, it's been a couple of weeks. How are things?
Oh, moving very, very quickly, that's for sure. So, all that stuff you ever heard about time going quickly. I mean, heck, we're just like week 17 here. This is crazy.
Oh, definitely. We've got a big show. Obviously, if you're unless you've been living under a rock, you know that there were some big moves announced by the CFL that were announced on Monday, and of course we're going to preview the following week. But first, Tony, I got some sad news.
Uh-oh, what's up?
All right, I can turn that off now. It's supposed to be.
Getting really concerned here.
It's supposed to be taps, plain taps.
Okay.
The 55-yard line is no more out of the CFL, and I'm a sad Dalts. I'm a sad curling, jorts-wearing. I don't know. I'm trying to think of myself as Ric Flair, limousine riding. I'm a very sad podcaster right now because I'm going to miss that 55-yard line. But we are going to talk some major rules, some major changes that were dropped Monday afternoon. New commissioner Ryan Johnston, or Stuart Johnston, I believe.
Who cares? Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Yeah. No, the fact is that he doesn't usually come out of hibernation, and this is the first time everybody knew what he sounded like prior to him taking the job. But the big news coming out is, first off, let's talk about the things that really don't garner that much attention, but the goalposts are moving from the goal line to the back of the end zone, which are in turn being lessened by 5 yards. I don't care about that as much, but any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it doesn't take away the game. I think their explanation was incredibly stupid. I put it in some of my social media that if you had moved the goal post to the back end zones, I might have not even noticed right away. Maybe once the game's I wouldn't really notice. I think their justification for it was pretty stupid. The only thing that made sense was player interference. That's about the only argument you have. Outside of that, they're pretty stupid reasons that really you can't support anything. First off, we have, and it goes to the field too. You mentioned our fifth pick. The CFL football field is the way it is because we kept football's roots in the game of rugby. In rugby, they have the goalposts on the goal line. Now, I don't follow the rugby community very closely, but when I talk to people who love rugby, I've never heard anyone mention their goalposts being an issue. I watched TSN's justification of it, and that propaganda video that TSN put out for the rule changes, I have to admit, is something else. Like, I don't know who wrote it, but I'm going to bet it was somebody who's been trying to get the NFL into Toronto for the longest time and just spewed out the most, I don't say here, it was idiotic. Their propaganda video that they put out was just insane when they were talking about how the evil goalposts, like how many plays have died because they hit the goalpost. I'm like, none, like 5 that I can remember.
I can think of 3 on the top of my head, and 2 of them happened to Cody Fajardo. But
the way they present, never again will the play die at the goalpost. I'm like, I really, at 49 years old, I've never ever went home at the end of the day thinking, God, those goddamn goalposts, if they were like, maybe when they happen, like, oh, we hit the goalpost, like, and then I've never thought the Calgary Stampeders haven't won a Grey Cup because they hit the goalpost. Like, to me, that was just the way they presented it. Like, boy, you guys are really trying to justify these changes with that video.
We have the data that says that 33% of all passes are to one side, and another 33 passes are to percent are over on the other corner. We want another 33% down the middle. Well, you can still have it. Like, it still happens. It's
but the thing is, like, but they said it's because it's like, and it'll increase scoring. It's like, didn't someone just hang, like, the BC Lions just hung 52 points on the Calgary Stampeders? Like,
Chris Treveler just hung 26 on the Ottawa Redblacks. Well, we'll talk more about
3
that.
weeks ago, just 3 weeks ago, all but one team failed to score 30 plus points, and the one team that didn't had like 27.
Yeah.
Like, what do you need from that extra 33% of the field? Like, do we need to hit triple digits? Is that what you're after? Because never in the history of the CFL have I ever heard the argument that games are just too low scoring. We need to generate offense in the Canadian Football League. Like, this is the league where leads can change hand 3 times in the final 2 minutes because of how it's built for offense. And now you're telling me that the goalpost at the front of like on the goal line, is stopping production of offense. Like, it's pretty bad. You know, like, that whole propaganda video was just, and it's not an instructional video. Like, even the way he narrated is like, this video is not for information purposes. It is a justification video. That's all it was.
And here's the thing. Like, I could you could say safety precaution to move everything back. I mean, I don't care about the end zones being cut down by 5 yards. I don't. Because if you look at BMO Field and in McGill, like, would actually help make those end zones be more doable, like more equal. But I don't like changes. I sound like an old man yelling at the clouds. I don't like changes for the sake of changes. And this is what it seems like. It seems like they are changing because every rule, like every year we have these rules where we need to generate more offense. We need to get more scoring up. And then every year the scoring either becomes stale or decreases. Like, are we just like non-innovative, or are we just kind of not admitting that, holy shit, our defenses are actually pretty good? Like, what's going to happen if we are anticipating an extra touchdown per game in this year or next year or whenever this comes into effect, 2027, I believe. What happens if that extra touchdown or 2 does not happen? Is this going to be labeled a colossal failure? Are we going to go back, or are we just going to be like, well, we got to try something else now? Because that's what it's going to be. So I don't buy that this is done to generate offense, because that's all the CFL has been trying to do, is generate more offense.
Mm-hmm.
Taking away more scoring options is not like modifying the Rouge. I understand, and we'll talk more about that again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like changes for the sake of changes.
Yeah.
And
the thing is, I know with this show, I didn't want it to become, for the next hour, we're going to crap on all of these changes. Because again, my initial reaction, obviously, they're all stupid changes. Like that's, if you just want a straight answer, Tony would think they're all stupid changes that don't help the game at all. Literally not one of them will improve scoring.
Mm-hmm.
None of these decisions will make the game more exciting. It won't make it more watchable. Like, they don't do anything. They are, but I love the CFL and I'm still going to watch.
Yeah.
If the whole Edmonton Elks / Eskimos thing has taught me one thing, it's how to react intelligently to changes. So the instinct is to go off and just insult everyone and everything and throw a tantrum. But I'm still going to watch. But these things, nothing was done to make the game better. This was, every one of these changes is everything that people don't like about the CFL. And for decades, this is what your like if you've ever met that guy that hates the CFL, this is what his dad and his grandfather has been telling him for decades on why the CFL is bad and why they don't watch the game.
Yeah.
So
put up or shut up right now. That's exactly what it is.
For me, these rule changes are not for me as a CFL fan.
Mm-hmm.
These rule changes are okay, put up or shut up. They have bowed down to people that don't watch the CFL, don't watch football, don't care, but when they want to complain about the league, this is their complaints. So this is a put up or shut up to them. This isn't done for my benefit as a CFL fan. And two things are going to happen. The CFL is going to get more fans. It's going to get more popular. And again, this is not something that's going to change the year they do it. I know we hold a different standard when the CFL does something good, like move to see TV. Well, viewership didn't go up 1,500%, so it was a failure after the one weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And people like that will not let me turn around and say, okay, well, if this doesn't increase attendance and viewership in a year, it's a failure. We can't do that. You got to give it 5 years. But when we put games on CTV, we didn't have record numbers the first weekend, so the whole thing was a failure. So obviously this double standard applies, so I know I can't say, so I've got to be open and say, okay, let's give this 5 years of this nonsense to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's a put up or shut up for people who said, these are the reasons I don't watch the CFL. Those are the people that have to show up now. And this is the people that are going to sink or swim the CFL ownership groups who appease them. Because by the sounds of it, no player or coach was even told that these ideas were coming around, much less conferred with them if it was going to be something. So they're gambling on people that don't care about the league to make us better. And again, I'm not going to lose any sleep about these rules. The only one that hurts on a personal level is the 55-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that one's inexcusable. It's unjustifiable. It's inexcusable. And you're going to tell me I'm overreacting when you listen to this. But that 55, it even made the league more uniquely Canadian than the Rouge. And to me, it's like for decades, this emblem has been a symbol of our country, this intertwined, this beautiful image has been, obviously I'm just only talking about a 55 line, but I'm being overly dramatic to make my point here. So before you start saying, okay, calm down, I don't actually believe this, but it's like taking this beautiful image, this massive thing, so this is our symbol, but we've decided to make the game better, and to do that, our new symbol is this cube, this bland, white, generic cube that you can find literally anywhere. This is our new image. We've taken away this big, intricate, this big, unique, this identity, and we figured what will make the game better? We'll get rid of this thing that made us what we are, and we're going to replace it with this bland, gray cube that has no identity, like nothing to it, and that's going to make our game better. But that's about as dramatic as I'm going to get on this thing. Everything else, you're appeasing the people that don't watch the game and saying, okay, you said this is why you didn't watch. Now come and watch.
Yeah. And as like you said, something like the hardcore fans, I don't think the moves that they made, as stupid as they are, I don't think that they were enough or even close, remotely enough to say, okay, this is enough to lose to hardcore fans.
Yeah.
I think there is a lot more the CFL would have to do to lose the hardcore ones like me. Right off the bat, adding that fourth down would to me lose it for me. Like that would be it.
I would walk away.
Yeah.
I would walk away if we added a fourth down.
CFL_today on Twitter still brought out, had this Excel spreadsheet. Two things that we have exactly like the NFL. 100-yard field and the uprights at the back of the end zone. There are still a lot of aspects that are still uniquely Canadian. 65-yard wide field, 15-yard end zones, 12 players, waggle, 35-second clock. I mean, we'll talk more about that. The Canadian ratio, the Rouge, defense 1 yard from the scrimmage, no fair catch on punts. There's a 5-yard rule. Traditional kickoffs, 3-minute warning, and little overtime rules. I still think our overtime rules are miles ahead better than the NFL. If they mess with half of those, and I'm more specifically the 3 downs, that's when you start really starting to get, and I've seen a lot of backlash on online, specifically the TikTok account, where they're saying, well, this is just a starting grab. And I get it. I don't see it happening. Here's why. Do you remember back in the day when the XFL 2.0 was going to be a thing? The CFL had to partner with the XFL, or if it won't live without that partnership. 2 years later, the XFL dies. They partner up with the USFL. I don't know the last time I heard of the USFL. I know they're still going, like I know that, but I haven't heard anything about it. There's a very good chance they're not going to last any longer. Do you know why? Because it's just a watered down version of the NFL. You want to attract NFL viewers? Well, guess what? The hardcore NFL viewers, they're looking at that and they'll be like, why? I just got done watching actual NFL until February. Why am I going to watch this for another 3 months?
Yeah.
And if you're thinking, like the good thing about, okay, so if you're a hardcore NFL fan, you look at the CFL and be like, that's true. Well, if you're going to make it more like the NFL, there's a prime example of the XFL and USFL. That's not successful. So I get the reactions to people thinking this is a step one. I just don't see it, because the moment they do that, the league's done. It's done. Like you might as well just.
And that's why I want to make sure that I'm like, I had my initial reaction, but I'm not walking away from the game. I will watch it. And because you want to get angry, but most of my anger is from just the ignorance about the league and it's being changed based on like the Rouge, like moving on to the Rouge, and how, again, the propaganda video, the justification videos talking about, or even see, like, I was even disappointed to see guys like Farhan Lalji towing the line too, and of the failure point is gone. And again, since day one on this show, my beef has always been with just the general ignorance towards the Rouge and that whole mentality. You get a point. It's like, you don't, because that implies the second that the ball misses the upright, it's a point, and that's not what happens. And you have to concede the point. So they take the field goal posts, they move it to the end of the back of the end zone. Well, now a missed field goal is a point. So all you've done is taken the misconception of something that didn't exist, moved it to the back of the end zone, so the problem that didn't exist exists now, and then you solve the problem that didn't exist that you created, and then solve that problem. It's like you solved the problem that you solved the problem that you had to create after all these years to justify solving the problem. Like, you didn't solve the Rouge problem. You took the fallacy of what the Rouge was. You took everyone's ignorance and lack of understanding of the rule, made it a reality, and then solved the problem. And that's my big problem. Because again, you didn't hurt me. You, as a fan, you didn't do anything to affect me, because I know the game. What you did is a lie. You didn't fix the Rouge. You took a falsehood of what the Rouge was, made it a reality of that falsehood, and then you solved the problem that didn't exist before. So to me, is if you know the CFL, that rule just makes you look stupid. If you don't know the CFL, well, then you're like, oh, hallelujah, they finally got rid of that point for failure. So
here's the thing. Yeah, and I know it's semantics to say that the actual rule was you get the single point because the returner failed to return the ball out of the end zone, right? Like, that is verbatim. Well, I shouldn't say verbatim, but paraphrasing. That's what the rule is. The rule isn't if you miss a field goal, that's an automatic single point. The returner still has to give up that single point,
and you would be
which is still, I guess, technically an option.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised how many don't concede the point. Like, how many missed field goals actually are not conceded for a Rouge. But people would just assume they miss it, they take a knee, and they give up a point. Like, that's not the case either. It's not as frequent as you think it is.
Twice this year, we have already seen missed field goal returns for a touchdown. And the chances of that happening, not likely anymore. So a very big, to be honest, missed field goal returns, big ones, happen as frequently as people intentionally punting or missing a field goal for the Rouge. That's it. So you thought to me, like I said, this doesn't hurt me. This doesn't affect me as a hardcore fan. But I still, at the same time, it changes for the sake of changes to me. Two more rules to go by. I think there's two more rules before we get into this week's preview. The first of which is a 35-second play clock, which, to me, I love this. I love this. It's the flow of the game. So as opposed to 20 seconds, and it starts at at a certain time when the referee blows it in. End of the play, 35 seconds. Consistency throughout the game. I love it. And a lot of people are saying, well, that's too much like the NFL. And I don't think a lot of people really know time differences, because in the CFL, from the end of the last play, the play clock doesn't start at that time. In the NFL, the 40-second play clock. So the time between the last play in the CFL to when the end of the 20-second clock actually ends is almost identical to the 40 seconds space between NFL plays. So to me, this is like kind of like maybe solidifying a fact for the CFL. Plus, the flow to the game, I think this actually makes it a little bit more better for me as a TV viewer. It just makes it flow a lot better. And the last one, which I think, like to me, this is kind of like a long time coming. No longer will teams be on the same side of a CFL stadium. And I'm curious why it took so long to do this. Like, why is this a thing? Like, why did this have to be changed? Like, don't get me wrong, I love chaos as much as the last guy. We had the Montreal Alouettes and the BC Lions having that little brouhaha after the game, when it was about 2 months ago. Everybody remembers the Jerron Carter and Rick Campbell flop for about like 5 or 6 years ago. That was kind of funny, so we won't see that. But at the same time, it was stupid the fact that we had two teams at the same, on the same sideline, close to each other. It just seems like kind of reckless. Any thoughts on that before we move on?
Yeah, I guess the 2 points. The 35-second play clock, again, quicker than the NFL. We're still ahead there. However, now we've got time to squeeze a commercial in between plays. Before, where it was, you know what, a little bit of time to get up, get back into your huddle, blow the whistle, and start the play clock. Now you got time to sneak a commercial in there, and now you can kind of incorporate taking a knee into the game. And before, where you had to take a game down to a wire and you had only 60 minutes, now you have a minute and a half extra to kill off of a clock. So again, I'm not saying kiss the close ending goodbye, but now you've got more time to play with the end of the game. That could potentially take away for your exciting plays, because now there's no rush to get them off. But again, that is insignificant, and honestly, out of all the rules, change is probably the one I forgot.
I
don't care.
Yeah, I still think that in the final 3 minutes, I think like the game clock and the play clock are sometimes a little bit different. I think that is something that people kind of tend to forget. But again, I think that there should be a little bit more clarification.
But again, in closing, all garbage rules, all irrelevant to the actual sport of Canadian football, other than to make the change, won't affect my enjoyment of the game, or if I will or will not watch it. Diehards out there, they're going to do what people that just want attention are going to do what they want. And honestly, to me, the only effect of this that I hate is watching what's his face from TSN pat himself on the back like he's some sort of new spokesman for the Canadian Football League, but I forget what his name is. But other than having to listen to him sound like he's the smartest person, although I do like the way he rips on Rod Peterson. That's the only thing. The only reason why I don't 100% hate him is how whether he's right or wrong, taking out Rod Peterson, because Rod Peterson thinks he's pretty untouchable in the sports world. So watch him get knocked down by someone who's equally ignorant towards everyone and everything. So it's fun to watch those two go, because it's like watching the two most insignificant people in CFL influence act like they're the biggest names in CFL influence.
Before we get to our Week 17 prediction, let's get Irv on the line here.
Rouge Radio is sponsored by the good people over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com and enter the promo code Rouge, and you get 20% off your entire order plus free worldwide shipping. Go to manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Rouge Radio is also partnered with the good people over at Sports Interaction. Go to SIA.com/Rouge, and your first deposit will be matched up to 100%. And as always, the boys please advise you to please play and gamble responsible. Gentlemen?
Thank you, Irv. By the way, Tony, I'm going to test your memory. What were you doing 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon.
Saturday at 1:00.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think I was playing NHL 26 on my Xbox.
And if you had a full list of cameras that were on you, I guarantee you the 20,000 people in Ottawa that would have watched you, and the 500,000 to 600,000 people Canada-wide would have been a little bit more interesting watching you play Xbox than they were watching whatever Chris Streveler did on Saturday. That was honestly, that's how powerful Chris Streveler is. The league actually has to move the goalpost in order to generate more offense from Chris Streveler. That's the I guess the prototypical moving of the goalposts that they a lot of people like to say that they do. But I digress. Let's go to week 7.
I think that was the biggest thing. I think that's the thing you probably enjoyed most about the rule changes was just applying everyone to how bad Chris Streveler was. That was your fun for that day, just equating every rule to change on how bad Chris Streveler is.
The best one was what was it? The Elks Herd had a I guess they caught Cody Fajardo with on the phone, and they were like, well, if we can who is Cody Fajardo calling? Wrong answers only. And like 2 days later, they have this goalpost rule change. So right off the bat, I quoted it and I said, hey, commish, any chance we can move the goalpost out of the way? Obviously referencing the time that Cody Fajardo hit the goalpost in the Western Final. And then he did it again, the 2021 Labor Day Classic, both against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Anyway, kind of patting myself on the back because I thought that was kind of brilliant. Let's go to week 17. It starts off as we are recording Wednesday, September 24th. Our first game doubleheader on Friday, the 26th. It starts in Montreal. The Calgary Stampeders, they will have Vernon Adams Jr. It looks like that he's been taking all the snaps in practice. Montreal looks like they could get Davis Alexander back. Als are favored by 4.5, and the over-under is set at 50.5. I don't know about you. In years past, we've seen Vernon Adams Jr. play all world in the first 8-10 weeks. I think he's actually had a little bit of a longer trend going that way. In the last couple of weeks, it's just kind of been the opposite. I don't know if the opponents, because the opponents matter, but I don't know if it's the opponents that he's playing or if it's the yearly Vernon Adams downward trend that we're going to be experiencing. Obviously, coming off a game against the BC Lions where he was taken out for precautionary for injury. But possibly looks like Davis Alexander is back. We've been waiting for this. If you're a Montreal fan, you don't have to deal with McLeod Bethel Thompson anymore. You don't have to deal with Caleb Evans. You don't have to deal with James Morgan. This is QB1. And as much as Montreal's defense was exposed, that was because they were on the field for as long as they were. I don't see this going any other way than Montreal covering the spread. What made Calgary a bona fide contender is their defensive line. Jalen Hutchins, what a find by Dave Dickinson and crew, but also Fuller and Olamide, gone for the year. I think that is such a gut punch for Calgary Stampeders fans because him and Hutchins were phenomenal. They were getting after the quarterback like it was a bodily function. Now they don't have Fuller and Hutchins coming off injury. Wasn't as advertised as expected coming back. I see Davis Alexander coming back and returning to glory. That was the first 3 weeks. I think Calgary wins this one, and I'm going to take the over on this one because I do think Vernon Adams Jr. does have enough in the tank coming back from injury, but I think Montreal does take this one 35-28. Tony, where do you get out this one?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do with Calgary after last week. It was pretty ugly, and like you said, Vernon Adams. He always gets a lot of hype, but he never finishes it, right? He's never won the Grey Cup, and for all of the things that, well, he's never been the reason. And for, all the fun I've made of Trevor Harris, I guess there's people out there that can make the same argument for Vernon Adams, although I think Vernon Adams has a little bit better career. But either way, before I go down that rabbit hole, I don't know why I still want to take the Calgary Stampeders in this one, and it doesn't particularly justified. It's a tough pick because you're in Calgary, and again, Alexander, I think, is somebody you and I both really like.
Well, they're in Montreal.
Pardon?
They're in Montreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in Montreal. That's why I meant, if I didn't say they're in Montreal, I meant to say they're in Montreal. Mm-hmm. And Alexander is someone you and I both like, but I don't know. I still want to take the Calgary Stampeders in this one, and I wish I could give a very, very gripping reason that's going to make everyone change their mind if they didn't like it. Another note with Calgary too, Logan Bonner is back with the Calgary Stampede. He signed a couple days ago again. Not a big changer, but I mean, he was all right. He a little security back there. If something happens to Vernon Adams Jr., but I don't know. I like the Stampeders. I'd like to see Vernon Adams get this team back on track after a loss. They've had a few hiccups. I wouldn't say that Ottawa losses were as ugly as that BC one, but Calgary comes back and they seem to like pick and choose when they don't want to play anymore. But I'm going to take 29-16. I'm going to take the Calgary Stampeders in this one.
All right. Okay, so right off the bat, we were starting off 1-1. Doubleheader, the Toronto Argonauts are in BC to play the BC Lions. Nick Arbuckle looks like to be taking a lot of the snaps, so he looks like to be returning. BC Lions coming off laying on a 50-burger on the BC Lions, on the Calgary Stampeders. Earlier today, this was at 10.5 points favorite by the BC Lions. Now, at this time, it's 9.5. So I think a lot of people decided to take the Toronto Argonauts plus because that line was way too tempting. Whether or not you think BC is going to win, that is such a huge, huge spread. I honestly, I'm not convinced that BC is the BC team that hung up 50 on Calgary. It's impressive. Mm-hmm. I'm not taking anything away from BC. Nothing. They're full credit for that. I don't think this is a team that is a model of consistency. They haven't shown it all year. They haven't been. They even scoring that first touchdown against Calgary, I think maybe it was the second touchdown, didn't look too pretty. Like they really tried to lose, despite the fact that they threw up 50. But at this point, Toronto, honestly, their defense has been playing a lot better. Offensively, I think they've just become a little bit more lackadaisical, but I think Toronto has it in enough to cover the spread. But it's in BC. Toronto making the cross-country travel. I've got BC winning this one, and definitely take the over. If their last game was any indication, the over is most definitely going to be taken, but I've got Toronto covering the spread. BC wins this one 35-30 over the Toronto Argonauts. Tony, where do you got this one?
Yeah, you basically covered everything from the angle I was going to take and just add it back on to what I said before about the Calgary Stampeders. They seem to like pick and choose games that they're not going to win against opponents that maybe they could beat, which circles around to you saying maybe BC's not what they are. Maybe I'm not giving BC as much credit score-wise because I picked Toronto 30-14.
Okay, all right.
Another reason, and this is a less scientific reason, every time I mention the travel and how hard it is for East teams to go out there, the East team wins. So, I mean, I probably shouldn't. If we're going to mention the travel, I'm taking the East team because usually I like to say, well, it's tough for the East to go out there and win. So you brought it up. It's out in the universe now. So I'm taking the East team because it was said out loud.
Okay, so it's my fault then. Next game is the afternoon game on Saturday. The Hamilton Tiger Cats against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The over-under is set at 54. 51.5. The Bombers are favored by 1.5. I've gone first the last 2 times. I'll let you start off with this one. Where do you see this one going?
This one I swung back into the favor of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers because was it 2 weeks ago they played?
Mm-hmm.
And when I spoke, I said, "Boy, this feels like," and I referenced the game from 22 or something like that, where I said, "Oh, Winnipeg should have won," blah blah blah, and Hamilton ended up winning, that game. So I think I'm going to swing it back the other way, and this is one of those ones where I'll pick it's tough to sweep the series in Winnipeg. I'm sure you will have very colorful way of explaining how this one's going to go with Chris Streveler and everything, but I'm going to take the Bombers 32-27.
Yeah, Zach Claros is back practicing.
Okay, there you go.
And same with Jared Stearns, who is making his return since being knocked out against the Montreal Alouettes about a month ago. So they are getting a little bit healthier. The problem is that when you get people like the Claros and Stearns back after quite a bit time away, is you have slow starts. The one thing that I liked, and this could be said for the last couple of games, Winnipeg's defense is actually very, very sneakily getting very better. Like I know that grammatically that doesn't make sense.
Very better.
Very better. Yeah, they're actually getting better. Yeah, it's very underrated. Like Willie Jefferson just nonstop knocks balls down. Cam Allen from the safety position is attacking the ball, getting a couple of picks. Their front seven overall, while not getting enough pressure, is limiting a lot of the explosion plays that they were allowing at the first half of the season. So I think they've managed to secure that back half, that secondary, and that happens when you're not getting as many injuries. So I think they've kind of solidified that. And I think that is going to be the reason why I would take the under in this one. I went both ways in this one. I'm trying my best to try to convince myself that Hamilton would win this one enough to cover the spread. To me, it's just kind of like at home, in front of another sold out crowd. Winnipeg getting quarterback QB1 back. They're getting another target. I don't know what their depth chart's going to look like come Saturday, but I'm with you. I think I got to take Winnipeg in this one. Take the under, but I've got Winnipeg 22-20 in this one. It might come down to a last second field goal where Sergio Castillo nails it from like 60 yards somehow. That's just the way that it somehow goes. Last game of the week is the Saskatchewan Roughriders in Edmonton. Cody's Revenge is what we call it. Saskatchewan is favored by 3.5 points. The over-under is set at 54.5. Where do you get this one, Tony?
Yeah, I think we got the Riders going up against Edmonton. As much as I'd like to, pick on the poor Riders. They got the wheels beaten off them by Montreal there the last time they played, but they're going up against Edmonton, and I don't have faith in Edmonton to make that one an interesting football game, which for all intents and purposes might make you want to run out and bet Edmonton and to cover the spread, but I just don't think Edmonton's got it's the Edmonton Elks. I don't think they're back on track enough to knock out the best team in the Canadian Football League. 35-22. I'm picking Saskatchewan with very little thought going into it. They're not going to be happy.
Here's my issue. The offense in Saskatchewan hasn't been as consistent over the last month as it is. And again, opponent plays a huge factor. You look at the Banjo Bowl. I don't like how fluent or lack of fluent Saskatchewan's offense was. That could be against Winnipeg. That could be the Winnipeg factor. They got scorched by McLeod Bethel Thompson. That happened. So there is a trend where that offense is going down. And I'm with you. It's Edmonton. So it's kind of like is this a trap game for Saskatchewan?
Mm-hmm.
I think it might be. I think Saskatchewan probably is looking at their stats right now over the last few games, and they're thinking, this is the team that we need to get back on track. But damn it, I love Justin Rankin. I think he is such a phenomenal single impact player for Edmonton. If they use him right, you said 32-15 for Saskatchewan. 32-15 Edmonton. I've got, if they use him right, it's done. I don't think you can contain him, but I don't think that you can you can outright stop him. At that point, that's why I think you're going to see a punt return for a touchdown, maybe a pick six, because that secondary just seems to be all around the ball in the last couple of weeks. So I think that secondary is gaining a lot of confidence and momentum, and I think that just kind of really screams horrible game for Trevor Harris. So you got 32-14 for Saskatchewan. I got 32-14.
35-22.
Okay. Well, then you know what? I'll do 32-14 for the Edmonton Elks. They cover, pick them on the money line, and with that, I think it just comes down to take the under in that one. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, take the under. I think both offenses itself aren't enough to drive out to make that game an over. And at this point, I think it's offense optional and defense is mandatory. And I think Edmonton's defense is going to show up and show out for this game. Edmonton with the upset. So I think what was it? I think the only one that we actually agreed on was Winnipeg.
Yep,
I
think so.
Since when does that happen? I don't even remember what I picked last week or the last time, and whether or not we went 4 for 4 or whatnot. The CFPN, the Canadian Football Podcast Network, has a fantasy league, and I've kind of haven't really brought it out of attention here. Won my last game to go 10-5 against Ryan Ballantyne out of Calgary, and even though the Stampeders podcast is currently on hiatus, but we still welcome beating him because he picks nonstop Calgary Stampeders in his fantasy team. So I have clinched the postseason for the first time in CFPN fantasy history. So thumbs up to me, nice. Pat on the back. Next week I play, this coming week I play Adam Stewart from the Canadian Football Countdown podcast. Looking forward to that. And of course the earnings, the winnings from this league from this year all goes to charity, and I'm hoping to come down as the winner. As always, we have a strong ties to the Canadian Diabetes Association, so we're looking forward to donating there. That should do it for this podcast. Tony, any final thoughts?
No, just take a deep breath before you react on these new rules. If your instinct is that they're idiotic, you're right. But just don't do anything drastic with your season tickets or your viewership or your loyalty to the league. I don't think they're going to last, but I think we're going to have to live with them for at least the next 5 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. So don't do anything stupid. And like you said, there is still a lot distinctively Canadian aspects to our game. We've just kind of tempered the visual ones as far as the field perspective goes. So it'll look a little bit different. If we can survive U.S. expansion, we'll get through this. This is the league that everyone wants to fail, and it never does. Mm-hmm. So stick with it.
Calm blue ocean, calm blue ocean, calm blue ocean. Mm-hmm. Or what did they say in anger management? Goose fraba. Anyway, we are available on YouTube, and of course, you can follow us on all the social media aspects. Available on the TikTok at Rouge Radio Pod, on X as well as Blue Sky at Rouge Radio. Myself at Rouge Dalts, Tony at Tony Rouge. Available throughout the year on all social media platforms. Of course, go to facebook.com/Rouge Radio. to like and subscribe us on all your podcast applications, including TuneIn, Spotify, and of course, iTunes. For Tony, I'm Dalts. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.